Hello, it's the A to Z Podcast. Zach Jackson, Andre Knott, A to Z Podcast.com, Facebook.com/A to Z Podcast. Shout outs, as always, to Scene, to the Honeymoon Grill, to American Fireworks for helping to make this happen, to you guys for helping this thing grow, for encouraging us, for your feedback. Even you whiny ones, we kind of love you. Andre, how are you?
How your day is?
Jeez.
I'm all right, man.
My day is okay. Thanks for asking.
No problem. That picture you put up on Instagram, man, what happened to you? I mean, 30 years ago, man. You were doing 26 years ago. You were doing all right.
That was about 25. That picture right there would be about 25 years ago exactly. Maybe I'm off by a year or two, but it's funny.
I have a picture that I may put up as a dueling going into high school type picture that I might put up for you for your jokes.
It's funny. I was at my folks earlier and had to get something specific, and I was like, well, it's Thursday. I haven't posted on Instagram in a while. So I went to where I know my mom would have some pictures, and I didn't find she's got more photo albums than, right? She's got dozens of photo albums. But I found these two envelopes of pictures that I had from probably early in my college years. And so, of course, 20, 30 minutes is just gone, right? Because even though I've seen all these pictures, I'm laughing.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm snapping photos with my phone and texting them to people. And, the quality was so – I probably was on those – remember those Kodak disposables? And then you'd go get them developed at the mall?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so the quality's bad, and then there's a sun glare and whatever. So anyway – so I didn't find any appropriate. I actually found one pretty good one of an OU Halloween with some of my friends, but it wasn't a great. It's one of those that had great meaning, but it wasn't a great picture that'll make people laugh on it. Right. So I put them away. I'm like, I'll do it another day. And when I opened the drawer back up, there was that basketball picture, and I was like, well, bonanza.
Oh yeah. That's definitely bonanza. That's an unbelievable picture. It is unbelievable. For better or worse.
I used to rock that headband. I thought I was hot shit. I used to rock that headband.
You were before your time with that headband, man.
5'2" of hot shit is what I was, buddy.
5 foot. That's awesome. It was a nice and a tough week. With some things going on around my neighborhood. That was a fun wake-up call, to say the least. Got me to chuckle, to say the least. Here, I'm going to send you one.
The intent of my Instagram account would be to make people laugh, so hopefully that succeeded.
I'd say that's the intent of most of the things you do in life, isn't it?
Yeah. So speaking of...
when you write a story and you put, this is why they pay me the big bucks?
Well, yeah. I mean, it is.
I read them. I don't know who else does, but I do.
Yeah, you do. Well, for one, and I was telling Jason this the other day, I know readership is up on The Athletic because the comment section is getting a little dumber. And that's no insult to anybody in particular. That's just, we're reverting to the mean, as some of you smart people say.
Hey, dumb people make money too.
Yep, that's right. So I'm going to do something real cool. I haven't told you this. I haven't told anybody this. And now that I say it out loud, I'm actually going to wait because it's not 100%. But I'm supposed to do something really cool in the next 24 hours. And there's kind of a hilarious story attached to it. But I want to make sure it happens.
I think I do know. I won't say it out loud, but I think I do know. You sure you haven't told me?
Maybe I
brought
have.
it up to us?
Yeah, okay. Maybe I did, yeah. I don't know. I forget stuff.
I hope it works out, if it's what I'm thinking it is.
Yeah,
I would love to see this happen.
Yeah, so that I'll wait on that. But I haven't told many travel adventure stories from the year this year, but I had one the other day that's it's just kind of a chuckle, and I think it translates better telling it than typing it. So, I live 8 minutes from Akron-Canton Airport, so my preference is to go out of Akron-Canton, obviously. And with few exceptions, that means you have connecting flights. And so when you connect in Charlotte, I'm in Charlotte Airport more than I'm in my local Giant Eagle. That's just how it is. Yeah. But you're usually way back in the one terminal, the very end. You have to walk outside and whatever. I'm not complaining about that. You just have to be ready because if you have a connector within an hour, you have to hightail it across pretty far and catch your connector. And that's the way it was the other day. So going to Tampa, I actually had to hustle to make sure I made my flight. It wasn't so much on the way back. I had some more time. So I was in kind of a random corner of the airport, just stopped to get on my computer, charge my phone for a second, and I looked up, and I saw this couple walk by me, and the guy was wearing a jacket with the logo from a high school in our area. And he hadn't been on our flight, and like I said, I was in this random corner of Charlotte Airport, and I just kind of thought that was interesting that, of all the billions of people in the world at that moment, we were right there next to each other when we probably lived 10 miles apart from each other, right? So I get on the flight 45 minutes or an hour later, and I prefer the window on the left side so I can lean to the left and put my hoodie up and go to sleep. Like that's my approach. When I get my choice.
That's usually where I sit, but what's wrong with leaning to your right if you had the right window?
It's just more natural to me. Seat A is what I love. Okay. Yeah, it's just more natural to me. So that's why it really sucked this summer when I had that muscle spasm.
Now we know that you're a snob when it comes to Twitter and Facebook writing, but now we also know that you're an airplane snob as well to your left side. Continue on, my friend.
Yeah. So, so anyway, so as I get on the plane, there were several empty seats, and we were only like 10, 15 minutes from departure time. And this lady was sitting there, and she was gonna have to get up for me to get in A. And so I looked around and I thought, well, maybe I should just sit in one of these other ones. And I thought, I hate being that guy because people have done that to me, right? If you move at the end, you move. But we all have paid for the seat. You sit where you're assigned. That's what I believe. So I get in. She has to get up. She rolls her eyes at me, whatever. That's fine. I get in and I put
Why do people roll their eyes, though? Because I got to sit at my seat? That's when I become a dick. Like, you want me to be a dick on a plane with you?
Hey,
roll
man,
your eyes because I got to go to my seat.
Those airports are bad business. And honestly, I think this every time I travel. Shout out to anybody who's an airline worker or works because rarely ever do you hear great job, thanks for having. You're dealing with uptight, wound up, self-important, pissed off people, right? And those are bad combinations, my friend. So
they probably went to Hovind. That's a low blow.
So I'm in So I'm in like 8A or 12A or whatever it is, and all of a sudden, like right before the doors close, some more people get on the plane, including this couple that had walked right by me, the guy wearing the logo. And I think, well, that's interesting. And so I try to go to sleep. I can't. My phone's off, obviously. We're taking off in the air, but I can still use the Notes app, which I do to kind of write or make myself reminders. And I couldn't go to sleep because I had slept the whole first flight, and I had been up long enough to where my body actually woke up. And Jerry, these people, they must have been 50, and God knows that's not much older than us, but they made out the entire flight like they were 14-year-olds in a movie theater.
So they probably weren't together. To make out on the plane, that means though y'all just met, y'all just happy. Don't nobody make out like that unless you're in the first 3 weeks.
And it was like Monday morning at 9:15. Like, who wants to make out then with anybody? Right?
Never. I'd rather make out with a coffee than walk. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
And like, and I'm not trying to say that they got lewd with it. They didn't, but it was bothersome. And I just was like, well, this is another travel adventure for if I ever write a book.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Somebody tweeted us the other day and basically asked us we should talk about our favorite stadiums, worst stadiums that we've traveled to and been to. I think that is a good idea. And at some point in time, it would be fun to sit down and do that. Because I don't know if the NFL is just bad. The NFL, something happened in the NFL. What year did Tom Brady's jersey get stolen and they ran away with it? Was that last year or the year before?
That was the Super Bowl 2 years ago when they won it.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, because of that 2 years ago, Major League Baseball has now implemented, like we all have passes, anybody in the media, and they have pictures on them. And it used to be, you'd walk by a security guard at any odd, door or doors going to clubhouses or locker rooms, and they would just look at your badge, and if your badge matched who was allowed in there, they let you go. Pretty easy situation to go through. Well, after the Tom Brady jersey in the Super Bowl a few years ago, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, a quasi-journalist, not a journalist, basically went into the locker room after the Super Bowl, stole Tom Brady's Super Bowl worn jersey, somehow got away with it. They were able to catch him later on because of film and things of that nature. But MLB decided that it would be better to give security guards like a cell phone. It's like a device on a cell phone where they can make sure your identity is legitimate. Totally get it. like I get where we're the day and age we're at, but it's become the most annoying thing in the world. Now, God bless the guys at Progressive Field, and I shouldn't even talk about this too far because I don't want to change my scenarios. Most of the guys at Progressive Field are really good with, if they know who you are, you show up every day, they don't give you a lot of shit. But Rick Manning has a pool going of when I will be thrown out of a Major League Baseball stadium on the road, because there's nothing like, so for me to get into a ballpark, like let's say we're in Baltimore, because this almost happened in Baltimore this year. I've got to show my pass to get through the first doors. Fine. You nail it. You look through it, do what you got to do. Then to get into the clubhouse, got to show it again. Fine. I totally get it. Mark me in. You got me. Then you can go in the clubhouse, and then when I walk out of the clubhouse and go into not the bullpen area, but when I go into where you see me sit during the game, there's usually another guy that wants to check my ID. So if you do the math, within 25, 30 minutes, I've had 3 different people mark me in. And it's in a computer, basically, right? So there's nothing like this guy in Baltimore who's like the on-field guy. And the on-field guy last year, I'm talking to like a player. I'm just sitting on the bench, and a player and I are just discussing something. And then I'm talking to Manny. But it doesn't matter. I'm talking to different players. And I walk on the field, and I've got like my microphone in my hand, and my camera guy's right next to me. And the guy almost tackles me and goes, "You can't come on the field. You got to show me your badge. I got to see your badge. You can't go on this field." And because he freaked out like this, I go, "Get the fuck away from me." I go, "Do you think they just let me get this far?" I go, "You think I just magically appeared this far?" So after that, went down, and my camera guy's laughing his ass off, and coaches are laughing their asses off. This guy actually told some of our coaches they couldn't be on the field either until they were like, "We coach the team. This is where we're allowed to be." So after this happens, same guy, I pull out, I show my badge. He's like, "Well, you got to wear it." And I was like, "Well, actually, I'm not going to wear it because on TV, they don't want my badge on TV." And I go, "Major League Baseball doesn't want me taking pictures with my badge on because people could steal that so they could use that to get in." And he gave me this dumbfounded look like, "You smart ass." But he knew I was right. I was like, "So I'm not going to wear it. But you know that I'm allowed to be out here." So long story short, the guy's he's eyeing me the whole time in pregame. He's just watching me, waiting for me to walk back on the field. And me being the immature person that I am, I'd walk on the field for a couple steps. I'd walk down a little bit, and I'd see him come running. I'd walk back in the dugout. I'd go back out in the field when he walked away. So when it was time for me to go get dinner, I walked back behind home plate, and I didn't have my badge on. And I could tell he was talking to a cop saying something. So when I came back out before the game, I come back out. I don't have my badge on. It's in my back pocket. And the guy starts waving his cell phone at me. And I look at the cop, and I go, "How much would you pay him to make him a fucking cop and not be such a prick?" And the cop lost it. And the guy goes, "I'm just doing my job." And I go, "And you're well aware that I'm allowed to be out here. You've checked my ID 3 times in 1 hour." I go, "And how many other ones have you checked?" So funny story, the guy never checked mine ever again. I don't want to be a dick like that to people. And I know that I come off immature in this situation. But if I've gotten that far into a ballpark, why must a person find it necessary to continue hounding me about where I'm allowed to be and where I should be? Like if a person isn't somewhere where they should be, they're not going to make it on the field. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I mean, I go through the same thing. Like, now that you brought it up, I remember seeing that tweet too about someone saying your best experiences. Like, the truth is, my favorite stadiums are where this media entrance is clearly marked and where the security guards are like friendly and competent and tell you. Because like some places you show up and you have no idea and you stand in line, right?
Right.
And you go through all this crap. And the same with airport security. Look, I understand the world we live in, and there was one time many years ago that I acted like a prick because they were holding things up that I thought, and sure enough, I randomly got selected for extra searching that day, and I learned my lesson. That was a piece of humble pie to shut up, and you're not the most important there. That's the thing. When you travel, right? None of us are the most important, but many people carry themselves as they're the most important traveler, and that's just not how it is. The other day, in Tampa in the morning, coming through security, I go through where you put your arms up. Okay, sir. Hey, just step over here. I need to double check something in your bag. All right, that's no problem. Like, I got 2 laptops, 4 phone chargers. Hey, whatever you got to look at. Like, I'm on your side here. And so sure enough, a minute goes by, and now 3 minutes have gone by, And now he finally comes over, and he reaches in the side pocket where I have in a plastic bag nothing but my toothbrush and a little tube of Crest toothpaste, right? And he proceeds to lecture me verbatim from the thing on from the manual on how the ounces are more than can fly and how he's going to have to take it.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, okay. But I'm thinking to myself, I know specifically that I bought this tube of Crest in Waukesha, Wisconsin, because I forgot it or ran out, whatever, specifically. So that means I flew with it in this very plastic bag probably back to Akron, Canton.
Right.
Which means I probably have flown with it since then to Newark and back, to New Orleans and back, to San Francisco and back, right? And now certainly it made this trip through security at Akron, Canton, and now it's too many ounces to go home with me. So I'm like, well hey,
the worst,
whatever.
Go ahead. Well, the worst, and I'm not good at travel, and obviously because of the travel that we've done with teams, it's not real. It's not real life in any way, shape, or form. I get that. And so I've been spoiled. And my wife always says, you're spoiled when you fly. That's why you're such a jerk.
No
you
doubt.
should just be used to it. So she's right. So she said that. So that's, our standing. So a couple of years ago, we're getting ready to fly to Arizona for spring training. Oh, this might be 4 years ago now. And she was still breastfeeding. It probably wasn't spring training. We were flying somewhere, and she was still breastfeeding. And she had breast milk. And the ounces. And she made all these phone calls because of liquids and everything else. And they're like, hey, if it's breast milk, things like that, no one will give you a problem, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's like, we understand. You got to do this. And so she followed all the rules they told her. And you guys, you know where this is going. We walk in, a guy freaks out. And for the first time ever, I stood there and chuckled. And I was just like, wow, she did all. And I could see red coming out of her. And red coming out of her is worse than red coming out of me. And she's like, I'm like holding like Isabella at the time or whatever. And I'm just like, this is going to get good. And she's like, I can't believe I called this airport 3 different times. I did exactly what you did. And I was just like, oh, shit, she's about to get arrested. But she was right. And it was so ridiculous. And this guy literally, and it was like a Sunday morning, and this guy was just steadfast on, I don't care what kind of milk it is. It's not coming through this airport. It's not coming through these lines. We had to get like the supervisor of supervisors of supervisors to come in and say it's okay because it's breast milk and it was in this bag and that bag. And I remember just walking away being like, I want these people to protect my house. Forget it's unbelievable that we got no, I watched a fight about breast milk. Like, what guy in their right mind would fight a woman about breast milk? And you see the baby right there, and it's like, some people just follow the rules. It is what it is.
Hey, speaking of stadiums, before we move on, and I just saw this video the other, and I'm not above watching these videos, so don't get me wrong. But guys, we have got to quit fighting in stadiums and sucker punching people and being assholes to people just because they're wearing different colors.
Yeah, the opposite jersey.
And we have got to start going and having a good time and having several beers, but being able to stop it before it gets to the point of comatose. A few weeks ago when the Chiefs-Patriots game, that all-time Sunday game, and Tyreek Hill scores the touchdown and the guy's taunting him, and they throw the beer, and then there was the police investigation and all that stuff. Like, honestly, Jerry, my initial reaction to that was, like, seriously, the Foxborough police don't have anything better to do. But you're in these stadiums, and I'm in these stadiums, and guys, especially in the times we live in, the whole goal is for everybody to be safe, and one little thing can endanger a lot of people, a whole lot of people. So, we have got to be adults about things and understand that one little act of inciting, of violence, of throwing something can trigger things that are real bad, and we got to just start fucking being grown-ups. Is that fair to say?
Zach, very fair. I don't like violence. I prefer nonviolent situations. I like talking shit. I like the aggressiveness of sports. There's not much to fight. I've always said this. I always said it'd be tough for me to join the Army or Navy, Air Force, because it's hard for me to fight anyone else's fight. Like, I'll fight for my brother. We've had this. I'll fight for my brother, my mother, my family. But I can't just aggressively try to hurt someone just because somebody else told me to. And don't get me wrong. There's all kinds of situations that lead you to this. You can push me. You can push certain buttons on me, and I can get aggressive as well as I get older and try to mature. I try not to be that person and not and put myself in those situations. But what I hear from fans throughout a year said at guys on a field, and the audacity of what people get when they get a couple beers and what they're willing to say to people. When that guy did that at Foxborough, my first thought was, you know, the guy that had the balls to throw his beer on him, and the guy that was throwing his finger in his face. Why don't we just let those guys out in the field and let's really see what would happen? Like, I'm glad the Foxborough police did it. I wish they would do it more often, because the moronic things that I hear and said at ballparks, I'm like at my wit's end. Like, I almost had a guy ruin the NBA Finals last year before the Cavs game even started, just because he thought he was the smartest guy. And Bill Simmons ended up writing about it, and the CFO had to tell the guy, because the guy wanted to fight me, and I'm like laughing at him. And he calls me a pussy because I wouldn't punch him, as I have my Fox boss sitting right next to me and the CFO behind me yelling and screaming. I walked out and he called me a pussy because I wouldn't swing on him. I'm sick of, we're human beings. At some point in time, I get cheering for your team. I get talking smack. But when you get personal and you start throwing beer on somebody, when you throw beer on somebody, you deserve to get your ass kicked. You do. Because anybody that, I just don't buy into that, except when I'm with Sabo at NASCAR races and he throws beer on people when this guy wins. That ain't happened in 5 years. That's a true story. When Jimmy Hamlin, I called him Jimmy Hamlin. When Jimmy Johnson, the 48 wins, Sabo grabs his beers and shakes them up like he's like he's
Jimmy Hamlin definitely knows some NASCAR
beer.
drivers too. He definitely does. He grew up in the Valley.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but I mean, Zach, if we're randomly at a bar, somebody just threw a beer on you, you'd want to kick their ass.
Yeah, well,
you can't just throw beer on people. It's just and that's okay. Stop with this moronic fucking attitudes that people have. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I got a rule I'm not beating anybody up, right? Like, we know that, with few exceptions. And I'm way too old to think about beating anybody up. So my kind of rule is if there's a chance that's going to go on, I don't want to be at that establishment, right? And if that's a stadium,
right, where
I'm with my friends of any age, or there's thousands of people, and especially that it's bad business. Now the flip side of that is if we end up going to Massillon McKinley on Saturday, you better fucking come ready to fight, buddy.
Don't you worry, my flask is ready.
Because it has been several years, 4 or 6. It's been 4 or 6 since I've been to Massillon McKinley game, because I would only go at Massillon, and obviously it alternates every other year. So it's and gosh, Kyle's so old, it's probably been 6, right? Right. But I'm telling you, you see some stuff. Anyway, speaking of stuff, I want to bring this up, and I don't want this to be an hour-long discussion, but I think it's one we need to have. I was in a BW3s last night at about 8:30, 8:45, okay? And this was a bigger BW3s, a newer one. So there are, what's a good estimate, 45 big-ass TVs, flat screens on the wall?
Oh, yeah. Big-ass TVs, yeah.
And then over the bar, there was a setup of 6 or 8 smaller TVs. And I got to tell you that every hockey game was on and every NBA game was on, and the World Series game was only on the little TV over the bar. It wasn't on any of them. And to go back to last Saturday as part of this discussion, I know they can't count on a Game 7, but I really thought it was strange that Game 7 NLCS is on FS1, which wasn't available in my hotel and which a lot of people couldn't find if their lives depended on it, whereas regular season, mid-season college football Pac-12 game was on regular Fox, right? So I would say that I would ask it like this. I have always been a person that says baseball's not in trouble. It's a summertime sport. It thrives in certain places. Moms and dads and kids and cousins can play it in their backyard and their side yard at any time, and it'll always have that. But, I mean, is baseball just the way we are as a country, as a world, with our attention spans and our other interests and all of that stuff? Like, is baseball in trouble? Because for the first time, I'm starting to think that it might be.
I wouldn't go as far as saying trouble. I think it's it's a major sport, but it's a major niche sport. I think a lot of people at this point in time, you see it in how the stadiums are being built, and I'll get to because you're the part that you're on. My dad and I were just discussing today as well. I think the sport will always have. I think it's all. I got to say this the right way. I think that you can see how ballparks are being built nowadays. They're being built more for groups of people to go out and have a good time, have a social event, not to go and keep score and know everything that happened in the game. I don't think you mentioned attention span, and I think that's a great phrase for it. I think the attention span for most of the younger generation, I'd say if you're 35 and under, you might like the game, but you can go to the game. It's just like NFL stadiums realizing they had to realize that fantasy football was real, and you had to just acknowledge it rather than try to ignore it within your stadium. Like that happened about 10 years ago. I remember when the stadium didn't say anything about fantasy football, and now it's like, hey, here's our fantasy highlights. They're showing them on the game, baseball, because of the speed of it, because of the length. How I even complained about the World Series the other night. I think Sabo or somebody texted like, well, our World Series game's this long. And I don't think baseball has a way to fix it. The game is the game. I love it. But and I'll admit, this World Series, this playoffs, it's been odd because I watch 2-3 innings at a time, but they go to a commercial break, and it's very easy for me to turn to another game or something else and check on my phone what's going on. I can literally look on my iPad or my phone and be like, all right, blah blah. I can tell I'm becoming older because I'm like, all right, Machado's coming up next inning, I'll turn back. Or Mookie Betts is leading up next inning, I'll check. I don't know if baseball can change that either. And I love the game, and I know part of my job when I'm doing a game throughout the year is you try to find stories that grab people, man, and grab people about the game and about the players, because there's a million other things we have to do. And how much does that play into the scenario you just gave? You were at a Buffalo Wild Wings, and that's a fun place. If you have attention deficit, it's going to go in overdrive there, right? Because you're just like, whoa. I think at home you have the same thing, Zach, right? I'm telling you, at home myself, because I can turn something on the television, I can turn something on my laptop, I can turn something on my iPad. I'll have the game on, but being on the main screen takes a lot. And I think that's just all of our lives now, right? You have to have a screen. When you have a good game going, football game, baseball game, or basketball game, I know how if you're at home, you probably got a computer up, a laptop up that has Twitter on it. Sure. You're looking at something. I know I am. And I think that's something baseball. I don't know how baseball can overcome it. I love the game still, and I think the game is even selling itself that way. I even said to my dad, I go, the way that they try to put the games on YouTube, YouTube's showing the World Series this year. I mean, to me, that's a statement of there's other things to do, and there's other places that you can watch it. So here, just put it on your phone and just dial in a couple times, and that gives us the numbers, right?
Right. Well, I think as far as going to games, Dre, I think the attention span and the nose and phone era that we live in actually works out because it's slow moving, right? So you can scroll Instagram and Twitter while you're at a baseball game and probably not miss much. Now, you better be careful where you sit. But you can, It's a summer night activity, right? You go with your friends, you have a few beers, you take some selfies, you post them, you watch the game. It's great, right? The videos of people building the beer pyramids out at Jacobs Field or whatever the hell it's called now, and then the security has to come knock it down. I love those. But I just think from the overall standpoint of, are people going to get excited about the Boston Red Sox, playing their 180th game of the year, and are people watching? I'm never one that's going to live and die with the ratings of anything that goes into it, but I'm just saying, I had this thought, Dre, more in terms of, let's talk about this on the podcast, and boy, let me find out what's going on in the baseball game, because frankly, I didn't care what was going on in the baseball game.
Yeah, I mean, and the amazing thing is, I'm sure MLB, when they saw the 12 teams or whatever for the playoffs, I'm sure they were, this is their dream scenario, right? Boston, L.A., get two big markets, or New York, L.A. This, and we're all going, we want Cleveland, Milwaukee, because that'll piss everybody off. I think there'd be more interest and more storylines for most of the country if you had two Midwest teams.
I agree. Or at least one. I think they needed the Brewers for excitement. I totally think that. Yeah.
Oh, that's I think that plays into it, especially for us. Forget the Indians. I mean, well, no, I mean, it was hard because the Indians lost. But if Milwaukee would have been in it, I would have paid way more attention. And you're exactly right. I just don't there's just nothing to that. That LA team has won the NL 6 years in a row, and they're so vanilla to me. You know, they're good. You know, Clayton Kershaw, they're good, but there's nothing to them. You know what I mean? There's no personality to them. Is that the problem with baseball? That and look, and I love the game, but even the Boston Red Sox, they have Mookie Betts, great name, great looking guy, great story, just where he's from and how he's made it, what he's become, and I just don't think there's Mookie Betts could walk into the Browns game on Sunday, sit at the 50-yard line 3 rows back, and most people would have no idea it was him. To me, that's amazing. And maybe that's because the NBA players, you can see their faces, you see their bodies, you see their tattoos while they do their game. Football players, football has found a way to get, I guess, more of the personality of who the guys are. Baseball players, you see their faces, you see they're normal-sized guys, and they can blend right into society just as stars. Mm-hmm. Easier to me than other than hockey players, which is amazing to me. But to me, and look, I'm not doing the broadcast of the game, even though a story I was going to do earlier this year ran in the World Series that made me feel good about my job, that I actually know what I'm watching and paying attention to. That a story I had actually ran during the World Series, but that's nor here nor there. How do you, and I've had baseball executives tell me the problem that they have, so I'm going to ask you. For as great as the Mookie Betts story is, and he's probably going to be the MVP, how do you sell it when he's not the quarterback or he's not LeBron dribbling the ball up court every 5 minutes?
I mean, I think
we run into problems. Yeah. We run into problems telling stories during games because I can't guarantee how long Lindor's at bat's going to be. Right. I can't guarantee Lindor is going to get the ball hit to him. You know what I mean? I'm telling people from a TV production side, I complain about this and I bitch about it because I'm I get good stories, but if to tell a good story, sometimes you need more than 30 seconds, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can give the information in 45, 30 seconds, but sometimes you need 2 minutes and a little video and some background to truly sell it. And that is hard to do in baseball.
You know this because you do this 150 times a year. A baseball broadcast is totally different than a basketball broadcast in terms of prepping for it and moving it along. Yeah, no doubt. Two more things. Well, one thing I want to get to, and then we'll finish on Cleveland's quarterback. And we talked a lot of Browns. If you guys didn't listen the other day, we did an hour and 15 minutes, a lot of different Browns stuff. And obviously next Monday/Tuesday, we'll see, because I expect the Browns to get run off the field on Sunday. I really do. And then we'll see what happens. But one thought here, Jerry. It's Thursday evening, late afternoon, evening as we record this. The Lakers play tonight. Uh-huh. It's week 2 of the season. As long as I get my work done here, I don't have to be up early tomorrow morning. I don't have any plans tonight, so I could watch if I want to. On a 1 to 10 for you, because I think you're the same way. I think you have something to do tonight and then nothing tomorrow morning.
Correct.
Where are you 1 to 10? How you have to, or not have to, want to watch the Lakers play tonight?
That is a good question. I'd say a 7, 6.5, 7.
Yeah, that's about where I am too.
I'll definitely watch it. I hope the game's close in the fourth quarter. I don't have the. It's hard to talk. It's not hard to talk basketball right now. We are just in a different time with basketball. I don't have the pain that some people have. I still like watching great athletes. It's hard for me not to watch LeBron. Is that weird to say?
No, I think that's fair and fine to say. Yeah.
It's hard for me. If he's on TV and I can watch it, I'm interested. I want to watch it. Now, I'm not saying that, you could, on the right, if you call me with a better idea about with plans, I'll go do it. It's not I have to be home and I have to see it. But if I'm home, it's going to be on one of my screens at some point in time.
Yeah. No, that's exactly how I feel, right? If I got, I'll watch the football game till the end. Or if I got something else to do, I'm not going to turn it down to say, hey, I'm going to watch the Lakers tonight. But, yeah, if I'm on this couch here at 10:45 tonight, yeah, absolutely I'm watching. And it's great. It's good television, I think. Like I said, it's an interesting time for the NBA. As we've done this, Woj has reported that Houston has picked up its pursuit of Jimmy Butler, willing to basically trade the whole future of the franchise to go all in. I think that would be good for the NBA.
Houston?
What's that?
Houston?
Yeah, 4 first-rounders. Yes, Houston.
4?
4, yes.
Where would he play? Well,
the corpse of Carmelo can't play anymore, so he would play on the wing.
Oh, we knew that before the season.
Well, yes, we did. Everybody but Daryl Morey knew that. Daryl from your neighborhood.
Yeah, Daryl Israel. Yeah, I should have called it. Wait a minute. I still don't. They don't got enough balls for Jimmy. What they want Jimmy to defend somebody? Like I would just think, what does Houston do? Daryl's truly playing a video game, and everybody else he is.
Well,
and how can they? Well, I guess they don't be paying for 1 year. I like when you break stories to me as the
yeah. Well, here's the thing with that though, Dre. Okay, Houston had Golden State down in the series last year, which anybody didn't think possible. And even though Golden State was probably going to win that game because they're Golden State, the Rockets missed 27 threes, didn't give themselves a chance to win the game. But when you ask around, a casual NBA fan, hardcore NBA fan like Raj and Pete, people that are dying to watch tonight's game, people that will accidentally watch tonight's game, does anybody think that the Rockets and Warriors have a rivalry? No. Does anybody think that the Warriors have a peer? No. I mean, the Warriors had a rivalry with the Cavs for 4 years, and LeBron said it's time to go. Time to hand away this final streak to go to L.A. and make movies, right?
But
they don't have that. So I think this would be good for the league. I really do.
But Raj and Pete would also tell you if the little bully Chris Paul doesn't get hurt, they may win that series.
Well, that's part of it, too. I did leave that out. Yes.
So there's not a rivalry until both sides win or lose. So yeah, you're right. I'm not gonna. You're not wrong. That's what I'm trying to say. But I would say this: most of us also remember if Chris Paul's and I want to talk about Chris Paul. God, I'm glad you walked me into this. I think most would say it would be a rivalry. I just don't. And look, I question signing Chris Paul and getting Chris Paul to go there. It worked 18 million times better than I ever thought it would. I can admit I was wrong there. The Carmelo one, I definitely laughed at and thought, no way that'll work. And it's only 2 weeks in, but I just don't see that working for his game and how they play. Chris Paul being a ball-specific player who you can run pick and roll with and who can shoot the three and is a scorer, it works out with Chris Paul. I guess what I'm going to, I see Jimmy Butler, he can shoot the three, but he seems like every time he gets the ball, he dribbles the air out of it and bounces it and puts somebody on his backside, and that's just the opposite of how Houston plays. Now, defensively, I could see them needing a guy like that. I don't know. I can just think of 3 or 4 other teams.
Yes.
But hey, if it works, I know what you're saying. What you're saying is they make this move, and it makes us all go, it's a 10 when Houston and Golden State are playing. I have to see how this works.
Yeah. Right.
But 4 first-round picks, are you out your goddamn mind? That's truly giving
that's
up.
Where I am, Dre. I don't personally know a single player in the NBA right now. Obviously, the Cavs give you zero reason to watch anything until the draft lottery, right? So, I'm here for something that makes me watch. For when we ask this question on Future Thursdays, that it's not 6 or 7, it's 9. I'm watching tonight, right? I'm paying attention to this. On Christmas, I want to lay there just with covered in gravy and mustard and watch good basketball. Right? Compelling basketball. So we'll see. We'll see. The
next time the Cavs will be a 9 and then they won't be anymore before the draft show will be the night before Thanksgiving. And it kind of makes my point about the interest of LeBron.
And then after that there will be no reason to watch.
They're done.
End of discussion.
They're done.
Congrats. Yes.
They're done.
Congrats.
So you're trying for Zion? Congrats. They trying for Zion? You like the other kid, don't you?
Trying for Zion. I didn't hear what you were saying for a second. Yeah, I mean, the season
has
not started.
I'm saying, are you in the trying for Zion, or do you want RJ, or what is his name? Barrett?
12 days from tonight is the Champions Classic in Indy, and they'll be on TV, and all of a sudden college basketball will be interesting in Northeast Ohio again. So I'm glad for that. Absolutely.
That's an 8. That's an 8. See, all right, you want to do them? That's an 8.5. 8.5.
Yeah.
Instantly. I don't even know who they play. And I'm like, yeah, I'm down for that.
Yep,
I'm down to watch that game.
For sure you are.
Chris, let's get in real quick. I just want to ask this, then we can get to football. What did you make out of the Spitgate and the Rondo-Chris Paul fight? I personally loved it. I love when the truth of people come out. I don't hate anybody involved in the fight. We've already talked about fighting. It was one of the first real NBA fights I've seen since the brawl in Detroit. Since what happened in Detroit, NBA players ain't allowed to hit each other. Or as one of my dad's friends says, black men can't hit each other on live on television. That scares white people. but Chris Paul comes off with this great personality, or so it seems. And I've heard so many people say what Rondo did to his face, like that he's not everything that he's made out to be. I'm just not used to seeing that in the NBA, and it was just funny that LeBron's reaction and just the reaction to the like what the NBA made out of it. I thought 3 games would be like the minimum. I think that was like the max suspension for anybody.
Yeah, it's a little dangerous when that goes on, but I mean, I would not mess with Rajon Rondo, and I think there's a long list of people that would tell you not to mess with Rajon Rondo, and I think there's a long list of people who feel like you feel that they're glad that it happened. So, only having seen it after the fact, not knowing what exactly Brandon Ingram's beef was, or why he was so upset, or what he was thinking was going to come from what he was doing, but that was the result.
Yeah.
Does it make the next matchup more interesting? Does it make the Lakers more interesting? Sure. So I'm here for it. That backs up what I just talked about. Normally,
I think Brandon Ingram about that life. We just didn't know it because his decision making wasn't very sound.
A lot of times at this point of the program, we would play American Fireworks Glory Days, and it is Halloween season. I know I'll be attending a Halloween party on Saturday. Some other people will. But actual Halloween is till next week, so isn't till next week. So we're going to put that off, and I'll give that some thought, Dre. We'll play some Halloween-themed Glory Days. So I want you to dial back into that decaying brain of yours and see what you can come up with for next week. When I was in those pictures today, I found some classic pictures of some OU Halloweens that gave me a few chuckles, although I don't really remember anything about the night, so I'm not sure how good the stories will be.
I was just about to say, if you asked me about any Halloween that I had at Kent State, I'm just going to tell you I was really – I can't remember.
Yeah, exactly. we both went to schools where Halloween is a big deal. In retrospect, it's just a big excuse to go out and act even stupider than you normally do. It's a great time to have your friends from home or from other colleges come around, and it's a special time. If you're there to experience it, it's a special time. Just be safe. As always, and we'll be dads later on that. So that American Fireworks Glory Days coming next week, and as always, we thank American Fireworks and we thank Scene and we thank Honeymoon. I'm not done yet. I just was getting that out of the way because I want to finish on this stuff.
I like that you did that. The one thing I would say is those outings used to be like what you couldn't wait for. You got dressed up and all that other stuff, and now being the part that I am, I just see those. I still like going out. I still like having a good time. But those equal the amateur nights. Like you always talk about St. Patty's Day being one of those. Yeah. This one, like those are days I used to get excited for. Now I avoid every place. Just be smart, have fun, make the most of it. Just don't be an ass just because don't be the guy that got knocked out at the football game last week because he had a different jersey on. Right. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. Nobody likes that guy. Okay, it's no secret. Where the Browns are, that they're not exactly going forward, what people are calling for, what they face in Pittsburgh, all of that. I just want to leave on this bigger question because I know I brought this up the other day and touched on it, but I don't know how far we went, and I want to have this discussion before Sunday, A, in case it goes well for the Browns, or B, in case it goes the way that I expect it to. So over this season, Dre, obviously there are every game, every evaluation opportunity counts, and nothing, very few things are given going forward outside of 6, 21, and 95, right? But isn't the whole core thing as they go forward, like true or false, fair or foul, however I'm asking you, isn't the most important thing for this season, hue or no hue, anyone else, whatever, that Baker Mayfield gets the experience, shows that he's got the potential to be the right man for the job, and then takes that experience, regardless of who his coach is, who his receivers are, who's around him, and comes back next year ready to be the number one pick and be the guy this franchise has not had in 30 freaking years.
No doubt. We've all said this for so long that you can't talk about anything until you have a quarterback. And because he's the number one pick and he is the quarterback de facto right now, he is the most important layer of everything. And in building and finding out if he is the guy, if you should be sending people to Oregon or you should be sending people to Hawaii to watch quarterbacks, because everything is based around your quarterback. So, yes, I would agree with that. But I also would say to those that want to make a storyline out of whether he likes the head coach, whether he likes the offensive coordinator, that doesn't really matter to me as long as he's getting reps and growing. The history of quarterbacks and coaches getting along or not getting along is long. Most don't. Hell, I don't think Tom Brady and Bill Belichick get along, to be completely honest. Terry Bradshaw didn't like you can just go through all the quarterbacks and their coaches that didn't get along. The whole point is developing and getting time on the field and understanding. Now, the depth of the offense and the depth of learning and reading and things of that nature, yeah, that's important. But it's not nearly as important as just getting the reps. So, yeah, I find it important, but I think a lot of people just take some of this the wrong way. Hugh Jackson isn't probably in the best role for him as a coach, but he was pretty decent at getting quarterbacks together before he did this. But we'll see. That's the interesting thing about the season. What is this kid going to be like when he walks into? I still want to call it Three Rivers, but it's not, right? It's high.
You can call it Three Rivers. You're old enough. We'll give you a pass.
Yeah, I remember when they called it Three Rivers where they played. That goes back a couple podcasts. That's what it's about. What is this kid's energy? What's he like when he walks into this park? It's a little bit different than the rest of them. I thought it was amazing that Todd Haley said today that he's never been to Heinz Field as an opponent. He basically grew up there, but never has gone in there as an opponent. Even as a head coach in Kansas City, even coaching with the Dallas Cowboys and Arizona, he's never gone to Heinz as an opponent. I find that awkward. But yeah, this is going to be this is fun. I know a friend in Kansas City, and when their guy went to Kansas City this year, and I know it was early, and we know the Pittsburgh defense isn't great, but they went into Heinz, and Mahomes played his ass off and looked down the barrel of Heinz Field and was just basically played like he played every game, as we all know. I know my friend that lives in KC said that's when he knew they had the real deal quarterback. So yeah, going into Pittsburgh, whether you're Cleveland, Kansas City, or whomever, it's still one of those on the judgment scale that you take and you judge who you are and what you are.
Absolutely. Big one Sunday for a lot of reasons, and we'll talk to you guys sometime between Sunday night and Tuesday afternoon. We'll figure that out. I don't think the Haslams are making any change, but I also am not making any concrete plans for next Monday. Let's put it that way. Let the substitute teacher in, baby. A2ZPodcast.com, Facebook.com/A2ZPodcast.
They do that, and half the buffoons that they put on radio and television to talk sports won't know what to talk about in 2 weeks.
That's true. It's a long, long way to December 31st. Don't I know it?
Be careful what you ask for. Konnichiwa.